And we're live. Hey guys, welcome back to Whiskey Charlie, the War Game Chat, our monthly show on YouTube. I'm your host, Mo from Mo's Game Table, and joining me are my two awesome co-hosts, everybody's favorite Gimp with the Limp, the Gimpy Gamer, Nate Rogers. How's it going, Nate?
It's another glorious day. Little tired. The missus is still down, so it's kind of taking it out on us. Remember she dislocated her leg, her knee. We found out it's worse than we thought because the doctor originally wouldn't do the MRI to see if she had torn anything. Really? He's like, no, just you need to walk on it and start bending it. You know, if you start having problems, then we'll do an MRI. Yeah. And he gives her a different brace. Within a day, her whole leg from the knee down is swollen up. So we call them up and they're like, yeah, it sounds like there could be something torn. Like, yeah, no shit. So that's why I was running around before the show started, because I had to help her because she's still, down a leg.
Sure.
And 4 kids running around. So we're just tired.
Give her an eye patch.
Yeah.
Should be a pirate. Should be a peg leg and a patch.
Yeah, we'll take a cruise, take a vacation for a little while.
There you go. And the other co-host, the notorious wargaming wizard from Oz, Kev Sharp from the Big Board. How's it going, Kev?
It gets better every introduction, doesn't it?
I'm doing great. You gotta kind of spice it up a little bit. And we got a whole bunch of awesome people in the audience tonight. We have Stuka Jones joining us here. We got Nordic Maelstrom, the legend. Nick's here, 102 in West Hills, California. Holy crap, you got Texas weather there.
No,
that's brutal.
That's California, though. It's completely dry.
See, now I expect that in Tempe, Arizona, 102 or 110, not in West Hills, California.
CSW land.
Macon, Georgia, the home of one of my favorite hockey teams ever, the Whoopie. Macon Whoopie. It was one of the coolest hockey team names ever.
That is a cool name.
It was greatness. I was like, I wish they would have kept that team around. It's just such a cool name.
That wasn't a professional team, was it?
Yeah, it was. It was like a minor pro. So, like AA level.
That's very funny.
Cool. Yeah. I see Tony's here. Bango's here. John's here.
Tony's here. Hey, Tony. Cooling down from a long ride. Oh, are you taking your bike out or motorcycle or bicycle? Bicycle would be more of a tiring one than a motorcycle. Although the motorcycle would definitely wear you out anxiety-wise with the idiot drivers on the road. Definitely not something you want to be doing. So he's out there cycling. Oh, he's going for the yellow jersey, huh?
Living the dream.
Yes.
Wearing the spandex.
And the helmet. With the little.
I'm trying to imagine Tony in spandex. It's just not a good look.
We're going to give him a complex now. So what have you guys been doing? I haven't really had a chance to talk with you guys much. I've been pretty busy myself, and I know you guys have been busy.
That's because you vanished on us and then just disappeared for a week.
Yeah, I had to.
Like you've got a wife that wants to vacation or something.
Yeah, 25th anniversary. We had to go disappear off into the black hole of no internet, it was actually kind of cool and not so cool. Because it was cool and then it was not cool when you're trying to connect with people and stuff. Right. And then you get limited internet package, and I was not really using a lot of it. And then
don't they charge you for extra though?
They will. They give you like 150 minutes, and then they charge you for it. You can pay for like an unlimited plan, and I was like, I'm not paying for that. I'll just use my phone when I'm in port, and if I need to use it, I'll get on the Wi-Fi. But I wasn't using it, and then Friday night around it's about midnight. 12 or 12:30, 11:30, something like that. Alaska time, which is 3 hours from Texas time. It's 2:30 in the morning here in Texas. I hear that I get a ding on my phone because it was weird. Some things would come through, but I wouldn't be able to interact with them. So I was still getting like alerts and stuff, and I got a news alert of the CrowdStrike issue.
Yeah, right. I was wondering about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, oh shit, yeah. I gotta freaking read about this. So I turned my internet on and I was like, oh crap. So I started messaging guys at work. And I'm like, even though I'm on vacation, I'm like, guys might want to be aware of this in the morning. It's probably happening right now in case anybody's awake. And then like 5 minutes later, I get a message back. Yeah, I just got a call on it. Everything's down. We can't ping servers. We can't do anything. Well, I think a good time to be on vacation.
Yeah, because it was all hands on deck, no doubt, right?
What was that? I didn't hear about that.
You didn't hear about that?
I've tuned out. The news has become so depressing. I just don't even watch it anymore.
Well, you don't have CrowdStrike on your computer, otherwise you would have known. Because if you had CrowdStrike on your computer, it would have wrecked your machine because it was blue screening all Windows boxes. Because they put I don't know how much I believe what they're saying, but there was bad code in an update and it got out to all the machines. And one of the things I read online was the code was accessing the area of memory it's not supposed to. So Windows was treating it like a bad driver and it was dumping out blue screening. So you couldn't do anything with your machines until they got an update out to fix it. So
yeah,
big mess.
That would cause big problems in my house. My little boy has become addicted to his computer. If he didn't have it, he would lose his little mind.
Well, only if you had CrowdStrike on it. It wasn't affected. If you didn't have CrowdStrike, it didn't affect
mainly servers, I think. Because it
was everything,
yeah.
all Windows boxes. It even took Windows Cloud service down because of
that. Yeah.
So like
it took banks, airlines. I mean, it was global too.
Yeah, and that's why I was like, we're 2 days out, or not 2 days out. We're like a day out from, like a day and a half out from getting back on a plane and coming back here. And they have a global ground stop. And I was like, oh shit. It's like, are we going to get home? But thankfully we did.
The CEO did a terrible job of managing that too. Terrible.
Yeah. When he was there, I forget who he was on the TV.
Like CNBC or something.
Yeah,
like
and he started talking. He's like, hold on, I gotta get a drink. I was like, is that vodka in that bottle or is that water? Because you probably need to put vodka in it right now.
Yeah, because you screwed the pooch, dude.
I'm curious if Stuka's joking or not. He's like, Kev, did you understand the example at page 420 of the Air and Armor rulebook?
And only the expanded rulebook.
Yeah,
not the basic rules. That's the advanced rules.
I could see it being that big.
No, it's not that big.
I'm glad that Stuka is up to page 420.
But we are working on those Air and Armor videos now. I haven't been able to because I was working on another series of videos and at the same time was on vacation. But I came back and finished up the stuff that I had on the other video project, and now I'm working on Air and Armor only.
Are you doing a Learn to Play series?
Yes.
Just 1, 2 videos? How many are you planning on doing on this thing? 4? 4D? You're doing
about 40.
You're doing 40 videos.
40 hours of video. No, not 40 hours. 40 short videos. Be like, 3, 4, 5, maybe up to 10 minutes long, something like that.
Dude, it can't really be that much. I mean,
it's a deep game. I mean, it's not like it's something you can just say, okay, here you go, just go here, go there, and roll your dice, and there's layers to it. So
yeah, you're depressing me because the past couple times I've gone, I picked up the Air and Armor rulebook, and I've sat down, I started at the first page. I'm like, I'll do something else right now. I got dishes I gotta wash. I'll go do that, and I'll come back and I'll try again later. And it's just like, I know the every journey begins with one step, but I just don't want to take that first step because it just seems so big. You know what I mean? I want to play it. I want to get it on the table. I just don't want to deal with a rulebook to do it.
Well, that's going to be an issue then. For any game.
I know.
It doesn't matter what the size of the rulebook is. It's going to be a problem if you don't want to deal with any rulebook.
I know.
But, this is funny.
Bill's been, eating a lot of hell over the rulebook. We all know that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not Bill's fault.
Well, I mean, he published the game.
He's the publisher. It's the designer.
It's not,
you
can't. Yeah, you can't say that. Any publisher can't take the heat over publishing a game that, if people don't like the way that the game, the rules,
especially Compass's model. Compass's model is, you bring me a game, and it's a war game. I'm probably going to print it. It'll get some level of scrutiny and some level of playtesting, and I don't know how the system works over there, but they'll print most anything, and most of the stuff they print is pretty good. But this one should have had better development, and it was 2 guys, I think, who both really love the sound of, well, there's two key guys. There's right. And I think there needed to be an independent third party that said, hey, you two, it's fabulous. This is just great. I love the 450-word explanation about why the Soviet division here only had one recon battalion instead of two. But just stop, right? I cut 11,000 words out of the rule book, more than 10%, just out of designer notes and play notes. So anyway, look, it should have been, could have been a separate rule, a separate booklet.
Well, I think something like that, it could have been, it's one of those things where it could have been done a little bit differently, possibly, like you could have said, okay, here's the rules. We'll take all the other stuff. The other information is good, especially for anybody who's never been in the military. And even those who have, it's still good to read of the ways things were handled in the 80s, So what you do is you could turn that into like a doctrine book and then have the rule book be just the rules, and then the reasons behind the way the rules work or why they're there.
Plenty of examples of that all through like the next war. I mean, starting with the classic 76 or 81 or whatever it was, the next war. That's how they did it. They had order of battle booklet and doctrine booklet, and then the rules. And then,
but you know what? That's the thing. And I had said this to you before, and I think even Mitch agreed when I said that you can't. First off, I'm not one that reads a rule book cover to cover generally. I'll breeze through a rule book. I'll look through a book. I like to sit down with the game and work through the rules that way.
You won't breeze through this rule book.
No. But what I mean is I like to read through a rule book while I'm playing the game. Is generally what I will do. I'll skim a rule book beforehand to see.
I don't know that you can even do that. I couldn't. Let's put it that way. So anyway, I don't want to labor the point on this.
No. What I'm saying is
talking about the game anymore. So.
No, what I'm saying is next war I felt was the same way. It was the type of rule book you couldn't really sit down and read cover to cover because they didn't follow the sequence.
I was referring to SBI. That's okay.
Oh yeah. No, I just think that if you go off, which is what I do with next war, you go off the sequence of play. And then you just follow the rules and you learn it. And that's the way NATO was. And I think this is the way it's best to learn air and armor. It's just going to be a lot longer because there's more steps and things like that. So, but hopefully the videos will ease that for a lot of people.
Yeah, well, if you want to watch 40 videos, right? So there's the rub too. I mean, all I'm suggesting is that more thought and less words would have gone a long way towards making this a much more accessible game. It went from about 18 or 20 pages of rules to hundreds of pages of rules, and it's just painful. Got rewriting rules and changing things, and they're the only people that are playing that I'm seeing, besides one of the Fred's wife, who's obviously a savant. She hasn't even read the rule book and she's playing. So,
well, one of my problems with it not to belabor the point, but it's something that I think they should consider, because generally the wargaming community is a touch on the grayer side, right? They tend to be a little bit older. Mine's not quite shit.
Look at your beard.
I mean, this is black, but the rest of it is gray. But I know with myself, I have the problem consistently that my short-term memory is bad. Like with the game Fields of Fire by GMT, I didn't even try to get everything right because there were so many if this, then this, then this, and then this, and this is an exception. And I feel like I'm probably going to have that same problem with Air and Armor, just because I can't keep that volume of rules in my head at once. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, but Fields of Fire was also well known to be not the best rulebook.
Right.
That's why they redid it. So in fairness to that.
Yeah. Well, that was with the second one. The second one, when I filmed it, I was like, look, hey guys, I will do my best, but this is going to be kind of like a learning playthrough for everyone. If you see a mistake, call it out in the comments and I'll address it in the next one. But
here's the problem. It's not that the game's complicated. It's not that the game's super involved. My issue with it is that it's so voluminously wordy that you lose the rule in all this conversational nonsense. When someone spends 2 paragraphs defining a rule and then at the end says, just to be clear, this is the rule, why not just have that? And it was so frustrating. And that's all through the rule book.
Yeah.
Just to be clear. Well, why don't you just be clear up front? And that's the thing that pissed me off about the rule book, is that there's all this nonsense. It doesn't matter if this, it doesn't matter if that, it doesn't, stop. Just tell me what the freaking rule is and let me go work it out. And I can ask questions. It's 2024. They can pose questions. You don't need to cover every edge case because you won't. But it's so wordy that it just takes you out of the rules. And I've been trying to summarize them down, and I'm struggling to focus on it because it's just tedious.
And to that point, I know you've experienced it because I've experienced it where you're playing a game and something just doesn't feel right and you're making this goof. Yep. And then you finally dig through the rule book and you'll dig through the whole thing. You'll find one sentence that makes the difference, but it's buried in some section.
Yeah.
Right.
And like I found one, I forget what game it was, but the specific rule I needed was in the example of play, but it wasn't anywhere else. And a lot of times I don't even read the example of play, right? You know, I'll hit the highlights, hit the points that I need, the rules themselves. So if I didn't read that example of play, which I didn't, I was missing a very specific component to the game and playing it wrong. And it made a world of difference. And I worry I'm going to have this same problem with Air and Armor, that the large paragraphs full of wordy dirds is going to kind of blur together.
I did 2 videos on combat. I got them both wrong because I missed something buried in the first 27 pages about stacking. I was just, okay. That's when I just said, you know what, I'm just going to wait until someone does a rule summary, or I'll try and do one, you know.
See, now I got a question for Greg. Let me ask you, Greg, did you play Red Strike? Have you seen Red Strike?
And to his point, though, when it came to Lock and Load Tactical, that boot camp series I did for that one was 63 videos.
Yes.
World at War 85 had 40-ish, somewhere in that ballpark, videos. But in that, though, I broke it down to the very nitty gritty. Like each specific component got its own video. Right.
Yeah. That's kind of the idea with this, is to give each bit its own little video instead of, you know, that's like cool. When we do the other learn to plays, like for example, the one I just finished, it's going to be 5 videos for the Last Gamble. And that's a dense game. There's a lot in there too. That's 72-page rule book. So there's a lot of things with movement, especially because movement's rather difficult in this game, you know, given the terrain and stuff like that, which is accurate. But that's going to be, you're going to have to rethink things. I think a lot of people are going to be like, wow, I want to get this guy in the fight. Well, you got to get him there first.
Yeah. You know? I'm excited to read the rules for that rule book and then do a compare and contrast and see how it works. And let's keep in mind for Red Strike too, that a lot of the challenges with that game, despite the fact that it won a bunch of Charlies, is that it's the laborious nature of the gameplay that was a challenge, not the rule book per se. I think their rule book was actually quite good. Long, but good. I have a dog barking. I'll be back.
Yeah, I think it was like 30-something pages, like 36 or 38, something like that. It was 740 pages.
Red Strike?
Yeah, I think it was less than 40 pages.
Red Strike was not 40-page rulebook.
No way.
I have to look.
It was at least 50.
I don't have it, so don't quote.
I'll have to get my copy and pull it up. But actually, no, I can probably pull up the digital copy. But the reason why I was saying that is because we did 43 videos for the Red Strike game. So in a similar fashion, you know, 3, 4, 5-minute videos for that. So,
I think we need to. Have you seen that guy, goofy looking, looks a little nerdy, dark hair, has glasses?
Yeah,
he does.
Nate Rogers.
Fuck off. He does generic games. He does learn to play videos for generic gaming.
Rodney, you mean?
Right? Yeah, that's his
Learn
name.
to, his learn to play stuff.
Yeah, but
How to
you
play
notice how
or-
his videos are just one video.
Well, they're different games. You're talking about games that are
Granted,
fairly short to teach. You're talking
granted.
10 minutes to half hour. Yeah.
But I've been trying to kind of steer myself more in that direction, and I've noticed an uptick in viewership as I've changed how I've done it, where I've focused more on the highlights
Sure.
than getting into the nitty gritty minutia of it. So I might do a review video that just hits the highlights, like specifically the video I did for Imperial Borders. I used the sequence of play as the. Speaking of which, if you guys did back Imperial Borders, the people who were behind the game War Room, it did finalize a couple days ago. So yay for them. Good job. But,
Nice.
I did the sequence of play as my kind of like guide on how I did it, and just a rundown of this is the basics of how you're going to play the game. It gave people enough to understand whether or not the game was for them without hitting every single tiny thing that they were going to get involved with.
Yeah.
You know, I think we need to kind of work in that direction, because I just don't see people getting, and I'm not hating on it, because I've done it myself, the 40 videos, 50 videos to explain a game. But you put in all that work, and that might benefit a handful of people, but I don't think most people are going to watch a 40 video series. And how long are each one of these videos? If they're longer than 5 minutes, you're going to lose attention span. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think it's just too much for one game, and we need to try to streamline things and narrow it down.
Yeah, well, I mean, it depends on the game. It also depends on who's teaching the game. You know, like Greg was saying that, Third World War, we did 2 videos for that. And it was like 2 hours, between those 2 videos, which is fine because I try to keep them about an hour or less each if possible, just to keep people from going nuts. But I'm looking here now. I wanted to double check. And I believe, and I'm trying to find the other one because I can't find it right now. I'm trying to scan through real quick. But we did Enemy Action Kharkov, and those were like 2 hours each, and the recording time was even longer. Because the recording time is much longer than what the actual finished result is. And that's because we did the 2-player, we did the solo for the Soviets, we did the solo for the Germans as well. So you have 3 different videos for one game.
When it came to Enemy Action Kharkov, I actually think they did a good job streamlining that game, because Ardennes was much more complex.
50 pages.
Than, okay, well, 50 pages. But yeah, Ardennes was way, way more complex than Kharkov was. They did a great job of streamlining. I mean, it almost felt like 2 different games, but it still was the same skeletal structure. It just was easier to wrap your mind around Kharkov, I think.
Will I play a Napoleonic or ACW game if Nordic plays a Modern Warfare game? Yeah, I mean, I have a Napoleonic game. I have a couple of ACW games. Well, I got a couple of Napoleonic games.
A couple Most Fearful Sacrifice.
Yeah, well, that is, I don't have that one.
You don't have a Most Fearful
Sacrifice? I don't have a copy of that yet. I will eventually get one. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. But I have a couple of other ACW games from Tiny Battle. And then I've got, what is the Alau 1807? And then I've got the one from VUCA 1812 Napoleon game that came out.
I'm surprised that you didn't do that.
No, I haven't gotten it yet. I just haven't gotten around to it because I knew they were going to do the second edition. I was like, I'll get the second edition. Then when that came around, I didn't get it. And I was like, well, I'll get one of these reprints one of these times. But here's a good point. Stuck is saying people prefer to see how a game plays a couple of turns and then how the game flows instead of a tutorial. But the funny thing with war gamers is, and I agree with you, they do, but at the same time, because I know you probably hear this too, Joe. Okay, it's great that you're showing a couple turns how to play, but okay, now why are you doing that? Why is that done that way? Why is movement done that way? What's stacking like? And what kind of DRMs are there? What's the CRT like? What's this like? What's that like? How's air support handled? It's going to just open up a bevy of questions at that point. And that's where it's the hard thing to get that balance. But to your point about, the how to play games that Rodney does, totally different games. We're talking games that he does generally are in the neighborhood and I'm not knocking anything he does. I think he does a fantastic job with those games, with those tutorials. But we're talking, he does tutorials on games that are
10
anywhere
pages.
from 2 to 3 pages of rules, up 10, maybe 20 pages for some of the more in-depth ones. But also with those hobby board games, if you look at those rule books, they're like, there might be 20, or even some of them might even get, especially like Fantasy Flight and stuff like that, they get to like 30, 40 pages. But there's a lot of big text, a lot of big pictures and stuff like that eating up a lot of the page too as well. So, it's one of those things. Just a different thing altogether. Stefan played a big boys, GBACW. What was that you were playing at the con here, Kev? Was that GBACW?
Yeah, great campaign.
Okay. Yeah, because for some reason, I'm just not as drawn to ACW as, I don't know why. It doesn't draw me like some people get drawn to it.
Yeah, those systems are hard too. Like, there's a lot of, when I say they're hard, it's hard to capture all the different situations that occur in the American Civil War. There's so many little battles, big battles, and it seems like, I know GBACW is super popular with everybody because it's the head cell of ACW, but it's I love Herman, but I love the theme and the narrative that Herman's games bring out, particularly his most recent major one, Gettysburg, right? So I like those. I think some of the systems just undervalue the Union capability and overstate the Confederate capability, just in general from a morale perspective.
Yeah.
Well, they probably do that for gameplay purposes.
Yeah, I think it's mostly that because usually they're outnumbered, right? But there's been a few wonky ones come out under different systems recently. I had folks send me links like, "Hey, here's my review of not links, but sort of updates on, here's my review of Game X. You should go tell people that it sucks." I'm like, well, it's a system. So let's just, if someone wants to make a game about it, I should go tell, right? Without having seen the game or played it. But
somebody told me this game sucks, so I'm going to say it sucks.
Yeah. Now there are some guys that I take them at face value because I know they know this stuff and we like the same things.
Sure.
And we'll have a conversation about it. I won't just take their word for it. And I'm usually trying to get the rules and read them online.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, and I've seen this a couple of times with you, you'll jump on a game and go right away, "Oh, this game sucks." You'll just, not all games, but if you'll just like, "Oh, this game's not good," or whatever. Because one of them was brief Border Wars, and it was a couple of years ago, and you were like, "Oh, this is garbage." And then I was saying, "Dude, I don't think you're playing it right here. Do this and that, blah blah blah." Because it was short, 4 pages, and then 4 pages for each module. And then you went back and played, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I totally played it wrong." You're like, "It's actually really good."
Yeah, and that happens, right? I mean, that's just part of playing a lot of games, right? I'm the first person to, like I did with Aaron, I played them wrong, took the videos down to make sure that nobody tries to use me as a tutorial, right? And I wrote an article about it and made my corrections. But I think as long as you're doing your best and trying, and then you're passing a judgment or an opinion based on, and I don't think I said it was garbage. I just said I thought it was too abstract for me. Mm-hmm. I thought they were kind of goofy little battles, but I think
they were, yeah. That was the point of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was a fun little system. Mm-hmm. But in the end, it's like Battles in the East, right? Volume 1 and Volume 2. Mm-hmm. I don't think that they're the best World War II East Front games you could go out and buy today.
But surprisingly well produced.
They're really well produced. They play really well.
Yeah.
They give you a really good historical feel, and I think they've got enough replay value that you can go, try them a couple of times. So for all that I don't necessarily think they're amazing, I think they're good. So I wouldn't, I wouldn't. It's not Case Blue, right? It's not. It's
Yeah.
not. It's not one of those type of things, or and even like Greg Blanchett's games, right? I think most of his stuff has come such a long way. He's cleaned up his rule books and made his system a lot more attractive and approachable. I can't wait for his Compass stuff to come out, and whoever else is making his games, that's going to be great.
He's got
what's going on from stuff.
He's got one coming. Was it Belly something or other? He's got coming out from Legion. I think is doing one.
Right. It's an East Front thing, but I think it's the same system as Kharkov. I'm looking at it, Kharkov and the other one, but it's Case Blau, but it's a simpler system.
See, there you go. Tony's saying he goes to your lock and load tactical videos when he needs a rule explained.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Go to the Crayon Eater when you need the rule explained.
If Crayon Eater can't explain it, can't be explained.
Well, I will say two things on this. Number one, Brittany is doing a great job with the editing. Finding 600 edits, though, wow.
I would say only 600.
20 years in development.
Yeah, that's like wow. That's 600 on a game that we were talking about that to him like 7 years ago.
Yeah. When did we run into him at the convention? It was 2018. Yeah. Honestly, I want to see the game made just to see how it does. I want to see the final version. You know?
Yeah.
We'll see if Bill can pull this one out.
Tim's saying that I think the videos Gimpy did for World War 85 is a good example, learning by some videos, and also the videos Mo does for Compass usually taught by the designer. Yes.
Aww.
Yay! Thank you. Yay! See, I went with the designer because this way, the person who's going to know their game best is generally the designer. At first,
unless it's Mike Walker.
Well, yeah.
The problem with that, though, is those
and if Mark
videos
is watching, we love you, Mark. But yeah, sometimes you forget your own rules, and you're the first to admit it.
Yeah.
It's like, well, if it says in the rule book, then I must have done it that way. I'm not sure why or how, but yeah, go with that.
Sorry, go ahead.
Now, those videos are very time intensive to make because you got to develop a script before you even start. You got to get everything laid out. You got to poke at it first just to make sure you're correct, double check things. Then you got to film it. Then you got to edit it. You got to worry about the sound and everything. And this is stuff that I didn't even do on some of the first ones because I was so new to making videos when I started some of those series that hell, if I did it now, it'd take me a lot less time. But that Lock and Load Tactical series took me, 7 months, 8 months to do in its entirety.
Yeah.
And hell, it's not even finished. I just couldn't finish it because David never sent me the last graphics that I needed. Remember, he updated to 5.1?
Yes.
Right.
And I told him, I gave him a choice. I was like, look, I can go ahead and start now, but you'll have to send me the digital graphics and I'll superimpose them because I didn't have the physical counters, some of them.
Right.
And I was like, I can superimpose those on the screen and just take care of it and editing afterwards. Or I can wait to start the videos until you get the counters. He's like, oh, go ahead and start now. Go ahead and start now. Okay. I do the videos. And then afterwards, he sends me the physical components. And I'm like, David, I can't insert physical components into a digital video. It doesn't work that way. I need the file. Oh, okay, I'll get it to you. And then I just never hear back from him on it. And I'm like, okay. It'll just.
Well, I can tell you, I can tell you for the last Gamble stuff, we started that in May. And I just did the last edits for corrections changes that Rich wanted. And when I got back, I started working on those late Saturday night, worked all the way through Sunday, and then finished up 3 a.m. this morning, I guess it was. Yeah, it was this morning at 3 a.m. And then I uploaded them and I sent it to him. So there's been a crap ton of effort put into those videos.
That's awesome.
It's like over 10 hours of recording, and I got them down to under 5 hours of watchable, video. So
that's awesome. I admire both of you for taking on these sort of tasks. It's not my core competency. Anytime I've tried it, it's usually not
turned out well. So I like to just, if by example, just as I'm talking about a game,
Sure.
I'll walk through a combat and, it's usually like 90, 80.
Well, you're different too in that you do
I am
things
different.
that. Well, you're very different, but I mean, no, you're way different than a lot of other war gamers. Even, yeah, much different than I know, much different than I am, much different I think even than Nate is, because you're the type of guy that when you get a game in, you want to throw it on the table, and start playing it. I'm the type of person that I'm a lot slower in getting a game into a game because I'll sit down and I'll like absorb everything as I'm playing it really slow, and then I'll understand. I'll take notes and I'll make new player aid sheets if I need to for myself. Just because that's just the way I do things. I just consume it differently. And then unless it's a game that I'm already kind of inclined to, like if it's like Air and Armor, for example, or NATO or something like that, I'm going to dive into that a lot harder than I would something else. And then I'll make different notes and stuff too. And then I'll find different ways of remembering things. But you just crank through games. I mean, the hashtag roll dice. That's the whole thing with you. Is just you're going through so many systems. I'm like, how the hell do you do that? Get all those rules in your head and then run through those games
together. Don't you do that, Mo? Like you'll have one game and then you move into the next and you confuse the rules between the two of them.
Oh,
especially if they're too similar.
Well, especially when you're also working on a video on another game.
Yeah,
you're like, wait a minute, which game is this from now? The game I'm working on, or is this game I'm
Simonich is hard. Simonich is hard to do that for, because he always tweaks little things in those Zopbon games, right? So tactical what extended movement is one extra movement point in one game and 2 extra movement points in another game, and so that's where you
make up your damn mind and go with one.
Yeah, you're always looking it up.
But it makes sense because it has to be done that way. What are you doing? Oh, your 100 millimeter Timberwolf.
Yeah, did you get yours?
Cat. Oh yeah, I got my stuff in. Yeah,
it did come in. Well, now you can.
And it looks badass. That one does look badass.
Did you get some of those random salvage box things?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everybody did.
All right, because I didn't know like what came in those things. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be changing the subject. I apologize.
You just did.
Yeah, I know. But did you get dupes that were in the mercenaries box?
You'll get dupes in those. You will get dupes, and that's because they just randomly grab a box and throw them in the box. So you may end up because like I've got like between the two different Kickstarters, I've got like 3 or 4 different Bad Cats and 3 Timberwolves and stuff like not Timberwolves, Marauders, things like that. So you get duplicates of them, which is fine because you can use them when you're playing.
What's the game
for both sides? BattleTech.
Oh, BattleTech.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you can use them. Both sides use them. So I mean, it's not like, well, you can only use it for this one faction. No, everybody uses them. So it doesn't matter. Some factions will use certain specific mechs that others won't, but you can use them across the board. Fine. It's not a problem.
I kept crossing my fingers for the big ones. I was like, give me Juggernaut. And I was like, oh, light. No. So some of them.
What's this? What happened with LNLP? Did they cancel all pre-orders?
No, they are still shipping.
Did you get a cancel notice, David?
No.
Is that why you're asking that question?
No, they just put up a notice the other day saying something about getting ready to start shipping. And I actually talked to David, I want to say a couple of weeks back. And supposedly everything should be heading out before the end of summer.
Yeah. I mean, I saw a video of printing presses and all that sort of nonsense. So, yeah, it was supposed to be shipped, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago from the most recent update, right? I made some smart ass remark and he called me, and I haven't connected with him yet. That was 3 or 4 days ago. I popped off and said, "Oh well, so this will be the new shipping date or something like that." Look, I'm busting these chops because it's late, right? It's all good.
I think it's such such a sore point with him right now because he's so.
I know he's super sensitive, and I don't want to hear. I felt really bad when I saw the telephone. I was like, "Oh shit, I'm not taking that call."
Well, that's because you got to make sure you got an hour to spend before you can take the call.
Yeah, but he's a cool guy. I like David.
Well, I could tell he was sensitive about it. because the other day I made a joke. I actually, when we were heading back into port in Seattle, we were heading out of Canada and we're going down. I saw a couple container ships, and I took a picture and I texted him when we had signal getting close to the U.S. Said, "Hey, I see the LNL, the container ship here. It's coming in." He's like, "Yeah, it better be," like that. He was just mad like right away, and I'm like, "Okay, he's a little sensitive about that right now."
Yeah, he's a little sensitive. And look, he's it's just been a rough run. So who knows, right?
Well, I mean, he's caught a lot of flack from a bunch of different people, especially online. I think he wears that on his sleeve.
Pretty hardcore small group, right? And it's half a dozen people, if that.
And a couple of the things they're right on. The communication has not been 100% great. But then there are other people that are making some ridiculous statements about David that were just way off base and 1,000% wrong. Yeah, and that was unnecessary.
Yeah, that's some grade A bullshit right there.
Yeah, big time.
But if you really think about it, though, I mean, in a way, they're right, because they're like, "Oh, he's spending the Kickstarter money on himself," and it's like, of course he is. He does Kickstarters for profit. He runs a board gaming company for profit. Part of that money goes in his pocket. He takes his salary.
How dare he do that?
Yeah. Well, I think people were saying that he's ripped them off for the whole shooting.
Yeah. Right? Well, there are a couple screechers that were saying he took our money. And, he's living in Bora Bora now on all your Kickstarter money.
Yeah. I tell you what, for
$200,000 it was $100,000 or something. It wasn't like he took $17 million on a Kickstarter and looked out of town.
Yeah.
And
it's not like a couple $100,000 is really all that much in today's world. You really can't buy a house damn near anywhere with that kind of money.
I would have sent those pricks their money back and said, "Don't ever buy anything ever again, you're banned." That's why I don't have a publishing company.
See, now Greg's saying he should be sensitive. Communication from LNL has been horrendous. Not to rehash it again. It's like we did say that their communication was definitely not the best.
Terrible.
It was definitely short.
It's terrible. Yeah,
and but didn't he have like some health thing go on that knocked him on his butt for like a month?
Sure.
Yeah,
I forget what
he did. He had that, and then he had to move too because he was moving. Yeah. Because his wife got a different job, so they had to move like 4 hours away from where he was. So that was a whole headache on top of the fact that this was all going on.
But you know what? He has lead developers, and all he needs to do is empower the lead developers to say, "Hey, tell them exactly what's going on. It's A, B, and C. Get the company story straight. You guys are the developers. Just tell them what's going on. Answer the questions, and don't pontificate and waffle around it." Some of those updates they do are just really bad, and they need to stop. And if you're going to give a date, just couch it in terms that this is the date we think at the moment, as
we're shooting for second quarter. Yeah,
and give yourself as opposed to June 3rd. June 3rd, it's coming, baby.
Yeah,
he just
don't do that unless you have it in hand.
Just vague idea before the end of the year. That's the best I can give you. That way, hey, if it hits by the end of summer or fall, people are happy. But
you know what though? There's always that's the one thing about the community that is frustrating, and it goes whether it's from the publisher's perspective or content creator's perspective, like we were talking about before, or if you're doing how to plays or you're doing not an AAR, but you're doing a playthrough. There's always going to be the armchair assholes that are going to sit down and say, "You're not playing it right." Well, I'm sorry that I'm not playing it to your standards, and maybe I did make a mistake, but I bet you make the same mistake too. And you're sitting here watching the playthrough. Is it you're watching the playthrough so you can act like you've played the game by watching someone else play it? Or are you actually playing it or watching it because you care about the game and you want to learn it, or see, oh, am I doing it right? Or did I make a mistake? Because war games, like we've said a million times, they're more complex beasts. So learning them is a lot more difficult. And that's where we all make mistakes when we play war games. So,
but you got to worry about more than just the game. You got to worry about lighting and sound. And if kids are screaming in the background, and hopefully your neighbor isn't going to pick this moment to start mowing. And like, you can't focus on just the game like someone else could. They could sit down and just focus on the game. You've got half your mind distracted by other stuff. And
half of your mind is a very small half. So I respect that, bro.
I'm already operating on a half.
Cotton brain.
Down to a quarter.
Well, look, I think I think people.
Hey, Mike.
I would look at YouTube channels about our hobby as free entertainment, and if you want to chip in some money to whoever's asking for money, that's cool too. Sure. But it's free entertainment, and it's also sometimes free education, right? Or free information. And so it's because we've all had this conversation 1,000 times before. The most popular videos on everyone's channel, and everyone does them. I nearly said it. Darn shrink rips, right? And people are trying to work on ways that they can make shrink rips more interesting. Stop. Sit down, dog. But I didn't want to knock my camera over.
Thought that was the wife.
Thought that was.
No, she's sitting at my feet on the other side.
Boy.
So anyway,
the frying pan we see coming out of the side of the screen will know where your wife is now.
Yeah, it'll be a sandal for the head. I don't know what one was. Anyway, I just think it's entertainment, and if guys play it wrong, it's great to have a conversation about why they played it wrong and all that sort of fun stuff. And then I try and respond to every comment on my channel, and I appreciate folks pointing things out to me. So that's all good, right? And I'll often post a video afterwards saying, "Hey, here are the things I did wrong. Or here are things that now that I know how to play it correctly, that I'm trying to do correct this time."
Yeah, and that's the thing is you have to remember, we all do this for our love of the hobby, and we like to get out there and share it, and at the same time we like to talk about it, shoot videos, whatever. And we all do it in different ways. Kev sits down with his phone, puts it on a little tripod, puts it down on the table, and talks directly about the game. Shows you the action and talks directly about the game. I'll do like an overproduced thing for a unboxing. Nate does these playthroughs or review throughs, which are fantastic, and then he puts his little face on the middle, so it like creeps you out that he's watching you watch him.
Yeah. This
he's like,
bug is too good.
My eyes on you. But no, the point is we all do things differently, but it's all done for love of the hobby and to share that love of the hobby. And people, if they want to complain about it, it's like, listen, what are you paying for it? You're getting it for free 99. So don't complain.
I got a question real quick. Who's the actor in the Star Trek movie, Star Trek Generations, the bad guy?
Eric Bana.
The white hair guy?
Wait, Generations. No, that was Malcolm McDowell.
Doesn't Kev look just like him with his hair combed that way?
Kind of does.
You see what I'm saying? Like, I've been sitting here thinking, like,
I just got a haircut. It's haircut. It's got all this.
If he had the darker hair and he had the Drew eyebrows on the one eye, then he could be a Droog, and he could be Malcolm McDowell when he did Clockwork Orange.
Yeah, it's been driving me nuts the whole time. I've been trying to figure out who the hell he looks like, and that just stuck in my mind. Bad guy from Star Trek Generations.
This is a great point, too. Suga Joe says, I love it when viewers ask me real questions about a game I made a video about 8 years ago.
Oh, my God. Or they'll comment on something like, oh, you made a mistake on this, and it's a 6-year-old video. And it's like,
yeah.
And I can't even tell if you're right because I don't remember the damn video.
Like, I did a video on that?
Right, exactly. I did that all the time on my videos. Some guy's been going through like a whole video. So I'm like, dude, I really appreciate it. Install.
You ever catch someone like you irritate someone and then you go back and look and it's like all your videos now have one thumbs down because that one guy's gone through and ding, 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 hit all of them.
It's probably the same jackass that gives ones on all the games on BGG.
Right. Do you guys get thumbs down? I've never seen these things.
I'm sure Kev has never seen a thumbs down.
Just look at my hair and I'm on videos. And oh my God.
You killed Captain Kirk, Kev. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, I haven't watched that series. I don't know which guy it is you're talking about. Find him for me. I need to see him.
I turned off comments after 2 years.
What was his name again?
Malcolm McDowell.
Malcolm McDowell. Look him up after the show. Malcolm McDowell. I'm telling you,
he's the guy from Clockwork Orange. He's done a bunch of things. You know who he is. You see him, you'll know.
Yeah,
he's
you'll
great
recognize him.
No.
The only other
Hey,
thing I
Jester?
can remember he was in is the Book of Eli, but he was only in it for a minute.
Was
at
he
the
in
end of
that?
the movie. Yeah, he was in it at the very end, the Book of Eli, when Eli's reading out the Bible. That
Mhm.
he's the one that Eli's reading out.
Reciting it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
That's
only in it
right.
for a couple minutes.
That was a cool movie, actually. I enjoyed that.
That was
movie.
good. Oh, it was Denzel. Of course, it's good. I mean, he's pretty. He doesn't. It's rare for him to make a bad movie.
Yeah, that's true. Very
That's
cool.
why I am actually. This is going to sound funny, but I am actually looking forward to Gladiator 2 after seeing the trailer. Because I thought it was really stupid to do a Gladiator 2, but what they're doing is they're jumping to the future, and Lucius, which was the boy in the first one, is now the guy who ends up the Gladiator.
But it's just
later.
it's redone. It's the same thing. He
Pretty much.
was powerful, and then something bad happened, and now he's a slave, and now he's all they've done is remake one with different
It's
characters.
Death Wish Rome is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, as long as they don't insert all their nowadays Hollywood bullcrap into it and have it like they did then.
Well, did you see what they're doing now? They're actually going to show the naval battles that happened in the Colosseum.
No, yeah.
So
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
I saw the
I'm
trailer.
excited about that. I was like, "Ooh, that's cool."
That'd be cool.
remember.
Yeah.
I saw Gladiator.
Little triremes.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was awesome.
and sharks.
Speaking
They
of which,
put sharks in there.
that is a game I
Sharknado.
still haven't gotten. I have got to get on Mark Herman. He promised me he'd
About?
give me one. Remember when we had him on, we talked to him that what the hell is that game? The one that completes my collection. Galley.
Battlestar Galactica?
War Galley. War Galley. Yeah, Battlestar
You want war?
Galactica.
You want War Galley?
Yeah, that's the Great Battles of History. It's the one that's got the triremes and everything in it.
It's really not a fun game to play.
I've got.
Just saying.
I think I have every Great Battles of History besides that one.
Yeah.
I've got.
I sold that one, and I sold that Siege of Alexandria nonsense as well.
You didn't like them?
I mean, I just didn't. This Siege of Alexandria thing was the precursor to sorting out what simple Great Battles of History was going to be like. So it was kind of goofy and different. It's not like any of the other games. And War Galley is good if you go get the summarized, revised rules that someone did. They cleaned up the rules for it, and then it's much, much more playable than the rule book. It's just kind of tedious. You're moving a ship up a line because it's like Great Battles of History on water, except with ships, right? As you move one ship straight ahead in one space.
Well, I mean, I liked
Flying ram each
Flying
other.
Colors, so I like their other ship games.
Did you like Flying Colors?
Yeah.
And all that? Iron and Oak? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, but at least they have cool little models and stuff, dude, and you can do more maneuver and there's sailing in it. This is all rope, guys. Rowing. A rope, bitch. It's not fun.
I still got to try it. I got to fill it out.
Dakota was asking for which companies does Mark Walker run now? I said Flying Pig and Tiny Battle.
Yeah. That's it.
Well, Tiny Battle isn't really its own company, is it? Isn't it like an offshoot of Flying
Separate,
Pig?
because it does the tiny battles. That's why it's called Tiny Battle. More Ziploc games, although now they're starting to do some box games, which is cool.
Yeah.
Now saying Flying Colors Fun System should break that out next.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. And you know what actually is also good is that Iron and Oak from Firelog Games. That's good.
Nice.
I think it was a few months back. The fourth one of the series of the Flying Colors series came out, and I've been meaning to cover it, but I keep getting other games in front of it, and I got to cover the games that are sent to me before I can cover the games that I just want to cover. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I hope to get to that one soon.
I'm just trying to, get some free time because I'm like working on that one project now. I'm going to start the next one. And I was like, man, I just want to sit down and play games, but it's kind of hard to do when you're doing all this other stuff. I mean, we haven't even played 6 Days on Fallujah in weeks. I think me and Kev played once in the past like 2-3 months. And that was it.
Yeah.
And we used to play that like multiple times a week. Yeah.
Well,
I think he is doing a little separate thing. Yeah.
there is something finally shipping. You might be getting a piece of this if you backed it. That solitaire pack for Agents of Mayhem from
Didn't
Academy
back that
Games.
one. Did not back that one.
Yeah, they Uva contacted me about that, and we were talking about it. I don't know what happened, but evidently the rumor is that the solitaire card packs were sitting in a warehouse since like October, and they're only just now getting shipped out. But that doesn't make sense to me because that isn't really Academy Games style. Like,
well, it may not be their style. They may not have been informed by the company that had it in the warehouse that whole time. So it wouldn't be their fault if they were told it'll be here in 6 months and it was sitting in the warehouse since October and they didn't know about it. I mean, in fairness, it may not have been their fault.
No, I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. I know it took them a long time to get it developed and finished, and people are right to be upset about that because that took too long. But afterwards,
it's like what, 6 years?
You remember we saw it at that same convention,
WBC,
and it shipped not long after that. I covered it, and for a while there, I left the display because the display has to be screwed together. The actual play pieces, the terrain. It's 3D, really cool. I thought the game was criminally underrated for how good it was. Mm-hmm. But I left it sitting up because I was like, I know the solitaire pack's going to be here any day. And here we are. This is like 4 years later. It took me like 2 years. I finally took it down off my table. I was like, okay, I guess it's not coming anytime soon. But it should be here from what they said within the next few weeks. So hopefully.
Well, have you guys seen the thing that, Princeps Games is the one who did that Elkin Gold game, and they did the Freezing Inferno for the Finnish game? They have a new tactical system that they're coming out with, and he had asked me if I would be able to review it, and I was like, I just don't have the time right now. I would love to, but I just don't have the time. And in fairness to him and the cost for the prototype for that thing, I was like, I just can't do it, but I will talk about it.
Is it minis or is it?
No, it's Hex Encounter, but it's really unique. It's double blind. And what you're doing is it's almost like Battleship in a way, in a unique way. You have these magnets on top of this board. I hope I can explain this correctly.
Oh, wait! I know what game you're talking about, and you slide the map in and out.
You can slide the map in and out.
Yes, that looks awesome.
You'll do your move behind a wall.
Yes.
And then you put the thing back in, and then the other guy does your move, and then you either come in contact or you don't.
Yes, that looks awesome.
It does. The only drawback to it, and I've had a couple of long email exchanges back and forth with them on just my thoughts on how they can develop it differently. And they're starting out small, which makes sense. They're going.
They're very prototype right now.
Yeah, it's very prototype, but even the first game is going to be very simplistic. It's going to be like 4-on-4, 4 troops against 4 troops. So it's going to be essentially fire team versus fire team. And I was like, maybe you should turn that fire team into a squad or fire teams and have it be a couple squads against a couple squads instead. But they don't want to do that just now because the map size is fairly small in comparison to what they would want it to be for squads.
That sounds really cool. What's the name of the company?
Yeah, Princeps Games. That's the ones who did the Freezing Inferno, the Finnish game.
Okay.
Had the cartoony map. They're really advancing their stuff. They're stepping their game.
Cool.
You'll know what it is if you see it. It's got all the hexes are covered in black hexagonal pieces,
magnets. Yeah,
and those are the magnetic pieces that stick down. So if your soldier moves forward and he has a sight line of 2 hexes in a 45 or 60 degree angle,
you peel them off.
You peel those off and whatever is seen. So you and your opponent are both sliding the maps out. So as he moves his units and you move your units, he's marking down because it's like dry erase where his pieces are, his counters are there. So when he slides his map back under, if he's moved or has his unit within your sight line, it will appear under those hexes that you've now revealed. It is kind of hard to describe, but you can only see where you can see.
Yeah.
It's like a 2-player ambush in a way because everything's kind of unfolding in front of you.
That's pretty cool. I would love to reach out to them about that.
I can get you in touch with
them. Just to read the rules. It reminds me. Reason why is it reminds me of City Fight, which was fire team based and used a megahex searching routine. And I really liked that game. I think that's still one of the best modern tactical games available in the universe. That's awesome. City Fight was very cool, but it was double one as well.
Yeah,
Stupid Joe saying he recommended to him not to publish it because it's going to be a lot of work. No, this game here,
the legend is wrong
game, because the thing is, and I agree with Joe here. Number one, it's going to be expensive, so it could be cost prohibitive for some people. The other thing is, it's going to be fiddly with people moving stuff around. So that's one of those things that could be, challenges for some people where they're going to say, this is just too much work for what you're getting out of it. Me, I'm like, no, this is really cool.
6 feet by 4 feet that have 10,000 counters on them.
I know. But
there is
not everybody wants to play those either.
Yeah. So is there, I guess, there's a video online somewhere. Stuka, do you have a video on it, or?
He sent me the video in my email too. So if you'll remind me at the end, I'll forward it over to you, Kev.
Yeah, cool. That'd be awesome.
It is. I agree. It's kind of cumbersome, but I'm thinking more fiddly than cumbersome. It is big and it does eat up a lot of space, but like I said, the drawback is the price point is going to be high, and it's justified because of components. It's definitely going to be going to be expensive.
I think if you're innovating, innovating, people are going to want to try it, and then if it works out and it gets really good feedback, then you can scale up, and then you can make 2,000 copies of it instead of 500 or whatever they're going to make. I don't know how many they're going to make.
Yeah.
But I think we shouldn't just dismiss something because it might be cumbersome, or it looks cumbersome, or it's not fleshed out properly yet. I love the fact that guys are trying to
think outside the box.
Think outside the box, change the model. We looked at a couple of games that either guys we've had on the show or that we've spoken to individually that had some unique approaches to games with minis and things like that were not your standard war game, that were quite interesting. They weren't for me, but they're interesting. Like Assault. Assault's an interesting game.
No,
it's not.
Yeah.
It's not my game, but it's
it's a great little game. Yeah,
it's a great little game. It's got so much replay value.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me add this in before I forget. He's got plans for it. So there's the map system, the black magnetic hexes that we're talking about, but he plans on having in the future different game systems that will use the same map board, and all that you'll have to switch out.
So you get just the maps at that point. You won't have to get the base for it.
Yeah.
So now
you only buy one base system, right?
Exactly. You buy the one base system, but then you can replace the map, and suddenly this is a sci-fi game or a fantasy game or whatever it wants to be. War game, tanks, anything.
Sure.
Right. Using this system. So once you have it once, then the cost prohibitive nature of it goes down because you're not having to buy the whole package the next time out, so on. I like what he's doing so far. I think it looks really cool.
Well, the thing I really like is the fact that they went from that first game, the finish game, and it was, had some issues with the map. They, listened and they adjusted the maps. Now the map is, really, it's a lot nicer. And then they did Cop and Goal. They have that system down pat, and they can keep doing games using that system, which is a really great intro system for people. And even Grogs can enjoy it too. So it's not like it's just for intro war gamers, but they're going from that and they're going into this. So it may not be, it may change and evolve into something else. I hope it does. But like you said, I mean, I'm really impressed with the fact that they went from this finish game, which is like an intro level game. They're jumping into something, trying to solve the double blind issue that we don't have, that you need an umpire for. They're trying to remove that from the game. So that's pretty cool. And the only way to do that is if you can't get someone that's going to sit in and play umpire, you're going to have to do something that's going to be labor intensive for both players.
Right. Yeah. Look, if you look at it from the perspective that it's cleaner, probably cleaner and faster than a double blind umpire game, then that's kind of your benchmark for how much time it might take or how much paperwork's involved or rules or whatever the case might be. And given that it's all prototype-ish, it's cool. Let's just have a look at it and see what happens.
Tony, you are joking, right? Tell me you're
that?
joking and you're not being serious. The middle where he's talking about kickstarting an amazing gaming table. I hope he's referencing that bad one that I talked about previously as a joke, and he did not actually back that thing, because if he did, I've got some real estate in the middle of the ocean I want to sell him.
It's probably that one. Yeah, and he laughed, so he busted. It was the one.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he wants to do a solitaire system for it too.
Yeah, and Keith talking about you need a referee when you want to play that, and we did. I mean, that was one of the better game experiences I've had in a while. Was when Kev and I were playing Silver Bayonet refereed. That was cool.
Yeah,
I wish we could. I would love to go back and do that.
Yeah.
Who refereed it?
Some guy who actually asked us if we wanted to try it and play it.
Yeah.
We're like, yeah, okay, we'll play. And we were like, how's this going to work? We don't know. And he did it in a really interesting way where he was like giving you intelligence reports and things like that. And then you would say, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to scout. I'm going to move these units to here, here, and here to the different hexes. And he would move them. And then he would tell you based on, whatever both sides were doing, because he was seeing everything. If you were in contact or not contact, or you were just getting rumors from people in the village saying, oh, they saw a VC over here or whatever. So it was kind of neat. It was really cool. And, you could go chasing down blind alleys. What's that?
Yeah, and I was going to say, and he refereed all the combat and did the whole all the mechanics of Silver Bayonet. It was cool. It was fun.
It was really cool. And then I'm like, okay, I think Kev's going to be over here, so I'm just going to jump out. I'm going to run down that way. I jumped down. I got smacked, and I was like, you fucker. And then he's like, hey, you're not going to do that again, are you? I'm like, you son of a bitch. And then he goes over to attack another hill that I was, where my guys were. I'm like, oh yeah, well, now I'm going to freaking unleash hell on you. And I like sent everybody out, artillery missions, everything. And he's like, you're really pissed now, aren't you? It was so much fun. I was like, this is great, because you're waiting to hear back what happens. I'm like, yeah, he can't be over there. Oh shit, he is. He just crushed me. And then I kind of returned a favor, and then you're just waiting for the reports back, which was kind of neat, because you feel like you're the commander in the tent waiting to hear back reports from the field, which I thought was pretty cool.
That's how wargaming originally started, like way back in the day. Like when they were making the original wooden pieces. I'm talking about like, what was this, 1800s or whatever.
Yeah.
When they were making wargaming for kings. Yeah, it was all refereed. They had these big tables that were made up to look like terrain. They would issue their orders and move their units about. And then the referees would determine, battle reports depending on their movements and casualties. And
the Kriegspiel stuff. They still... Some people still play that today.
Yep, there's new rules out for you.
Yeah, and it's kind of neat, the whole idea. Plus, the fact that you're sending out orders and there's delays, which is the thing I do find interesting with ACW Napoleonics, because the orders take time to get out to the field, and you may get, you may send orders out there. That regiment's already gone. They just moved up already because they're following their last order, or their commander says, oh, we need to do this instead, or whatever, for whatever reason. And or they're just not there. Or the messenger went to the wrong area. Oh, where are they? They should have been here. No, you're in the wrong areas, jackass. They're over that way,
It's big on that tabletop simulator.
Yeah. What's that?
It's big on tabletop simulator.
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I could, when it came to Fields of Fire, I always thought that game did such a good job representing how information disseminated from the top on its way down. And the fact that if you had a commander issue an order, he could tell a single squad to do something. But if you did it correctly, pass it down through the chain of command, you were able to order a lot more units, as would actually happen in real life.
So Tony, you're saying, are you guys going to WBC? I just realized it this week. So you're asking like Jersey style, or are you guys going? Being that WBC is in Pittsburgh, you should be asking them in the Pittsburgh fashion. You should be saying, are Yin's guys going?
Tell me they don't actually say that.
They do.
That's so nasty.
Well, in the South, it's y'all going to go?
Yeah, what's wrong with that? Y'all.
Exactly.
Y'all.
Up in Jersey, it's U's. Up in Pittsburgh, it's Yin's.
When is WBC this year? August?
No, it's now, isn't it?
It's this week, isn't it?
Yeah, this week. Yeah.
Oh no shit.
It started on Friday or Saturday or something.
Yeah, Nordic same thing. I lived out in Pittsburgh for a few years. All y'all. This is true. All y'all in Texas.
There's no apostrophe in it down here. It's just y'all.
There you go. Pittsburgh inbred too much of West Virginia.
Ouch.
Wow.
He's not wrong.
But yeah, no, that's the thing. So again, that's something to be checking out with Princeps Games. Keep an eye out for that and check out their video on it. And it's really neat, like I said, to see them innovating. And like I was saying, I think it's cool that they went from this intro level game and they're jumping up their own complexity for their own designs and development. I think that's really cool. I think that's cool to see them being aggressive like that and trying to innovate. So hat tip to those guys, and I really hope that they can, learn from it and build on it. And maybe, who knows, maybe we'll all be talking about it in a few years about this incredibly awesome system that everybody's crazy about because, they've refined it and got it down to a science where it's like really fun and cool and stuff like that. So who knows?
I hope so. I like it. I really think he's got something there. If he can find a way, and supposedly he said he found a way to keep costs down, that it wasn't going to be too cost prohibitive. And he has come up with a storage solution to prevent the little pieces from going everywhere. That way you can all get set together, folded in so it doesn't come apart. Because that would be a pain in the end. Oh, look, puppy!
Did you see the dog give the side eye to Kev? Kev's like trying to bring the mic or the camera down. He's just looking at him like, "What are you doing?"
My dog can be your dog.
I love that. Dogs are awesome.
He's trying to push in. No,
he's like, I want to be on, Daddy.
Yeah, we're still trying to get our new one to stop jumping. He does not understand. He is not a lap cat. He is 70 pounds. He's 3 months. He's
a baby. He ain't gonna learn for another 6 months or a year.
Yeah, but he's damn near 70-some pounds now. He's big boy.
But he's still in that I am just so excited to be alive stage, and he's jumping all over everything. So,
but he's smart. He can open doors. Literally, he figured out the way that our handles are. They're sideways. That if he jumps up and knocks the handle down, the door open. And he kept trying to chew, because we've got right by our door a little mudroom area set up where you leave your shoes and whatnot. And he wants to chew the shoes. So I moved him into the closet, and I come out, and he had opened the closet, dug in, pulled the shoes back out, and was just sitting there, going to town. And we can't stop him from chewing on stuff to save our lives. Not to mention the fact that he tried to kill the wife, take her leg out.
So Bob is saying that he likes your fake Beethoven. You're like the Beethoven's very real grand piano, and all dogs go to heaven.
Exactly.
Yeah, my office is a mess.
Tony's asking how your wife's leg is.
Not too good. It's still pretty swollen, and like I said at the beginning, the doctor screwed up and did not MRI her leg right there at the first appointment. It was like, we'll just wait and see if it gets worse, and then we'll check. And
well, you can tell if he's going to get an MRI because did he do an X-ray?
Yeah,
because they have to do an X-ray first.
Yeah,
before they even do the MRI.
They did the X-ray, but they're like, "Oh, well, we can't tell." And they're like, "We know because you can't see ligaments on the X-ray. You need the MRI for that."
So Bob was saying that there's some new stuff coming out from him. So let's hear what he's got to say. What's coming out, Bob? Tell us. I mean, that sounded like a game show. What's coming out, Bob? Tell us.
Well, I hope so. He's done some good stuff.
Yeah.
The Fortress. I can't remember the numbers. This is how bad my memory is. Remind me. 20th.
8th Air Force, 20th Air Force.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Hey, I got one of them. I couldn't remember the 8th.
20 something.
Yeah, I still have not managed to buy one of those games yet. I need to do that.
I can send you. Do I have both still?
So he's saying that World War
I-
I aviation game, West Front, 1950, 1918, late summer, early fall. Nice.
Cool. That'll be good. Yeah, remind me, Kev. I'll send you 20th because I've already covered it. I'm sure I still have that one.
Nice.
And they've done good with the 8th and the 20th. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with World War One.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's good. And yeah, it should be interesting. And now they're starting to box their games too, because now they've got the
Fancy.
Safe South Vietnam box game. I was like, oh man, I gotta get the new edition so I can have the box one. Because now let me tell you, they do really cool folios where everything's really thick. The maps are thick, nice thick cardstock.
Right.
So are the folios. I mean, it's not like this folio where it's not like Decision games. And
I was going to say, are you going to say it or do I need to say it for you?
No, I mean, in fairness to Decision, they make the folio games. They're made to be inexpensive, so you're getting that thin white core and counters and stuff, which I actually like. And for those types of games, it's perfect because you just put them in a tiny little Ziploc for the small form factor ones, throw them in a bag, and when you go on vacation somewhere, you got a little solitaire game you can play, and that's great. But these ones are like big, really thick counters and really nice thick counters, nice thick maps, and folio is just fantastic. And I was like, man, the only thing missing is the box, because I want to put them on the shelf, not just put them off in the Ziploc on the side, because then they get in that Ziploc pile that is just all disarray. It's all in disarray. And so I'm glad that they're starting to do some boxes now.
That's cool. Very cool.
Yes, both of those are great. It's Fortress Games. So let's see. I'm going to catch. Mike already said that. Fortress Games. Stigler. Virtual version of counter clipping, digitizing pieces for vassal. And let me ask you: do you round the corners on the vassals that you do? Because that's the same thing, that digital clipping. And why would you do that? Just make them square.
It's not going to matter if they're jagged. I mean, you're not going to have to worry about them being jagged. I mean,
well, no, it's the running joke with Stigler, because he thinks clipping is a waste of time. You're not playing a game if you're clipping.
No, some of the games it's okay to not clip it, but some of them, if the die cut doesn't work well, by the time you get done, popping them out, breaking them apart, the edges are just jagged as hell.
So he's lazy. He doesn't even do the contour of the edge. So he takes the shortcut by making them square little pieces. How boring.
No, you just get that Oregon laminate thing and clip through it. It's fine. It's easier than
vassal modules, though.
No, I mean,
that's just the running gag that we have with him, because he's so anti-clipping. Meanwhile, he's probably at home right now listening, clipping away and laughing at us, going, "You really think I don't clip my games?"
That's fun.
So Bob's saying that Save Afghanistan Commerce coming out in a few days or weeks in boxes. Mounted game boards. Damn it. Now it's going to be a mounted game board and the box and some new.
I'm going to have to go check this out.
Yeah, so that's.
Here's about the Air Force game. I'm not sure. I think I had a look at the Save Afghanistan. I wasn't sure if that was for me or not.
No, they're cool systems.
Yeah, okay, that's cool. I'll check them
digital cameras.
That would be awesome if someone actually did that, just for shit.
Put some frayed edges on some of the cameras. Do the frayed edges.
Nibs. Yeah, some nibs and frayed edges. Or put them, offset the counters, the print.
And have really funky colors.
You imagine the OCD vassal players just going, "Why is this like this?"
You can only do it for some of the counters, not all of them. So only half the counter sheet was offset, or something like that. Just drive everybody nuts. It's like, hey, you want the virtual representation of a tabletop game. Some of these old games are offset. Some of the new games sometimes get like that too, but it was more of a problem in the older games.
Just have the barrel of the tank sticking off just enough so that it runs on to the next counter.
That would be great.
That'd be awesome.
That would be awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
people would
Stigler's
just
like, you guys have
lose their shit.
way too much time on your hands.
Yeah, that one's
not
getting ready
yet.
to come out. Purple Haze.
Yeah, I have not seen it yet, but I will be seeing that soon. And I will be sharing thoughts on that when I do.
Cool.
So I've been looking forward to that because that whole, I thought that was a pretty cool game when I played it because it's abstract. It's a war game, but it's also kind of have like, in a way, it has like RPG elements to it too. So I just like the whole idea of the game itself, the game system, and how it's doing it. So that was kind of neat and pretty interesting. And I'm waiting to see what the final was, because what I looked at the time a few years ago was an early preview, and since that time it's gone through development and things have changed. So it's always great to see a game early on, and then after it goes through full development and things get fleshed out, you see the final game and you're like, oh wow, this is really good, or well, they kind of took a wrong turn.
Right.
You never know.
Yeah, that's always fascinating. That's why I'm keen to see Compass's Under a Southern Cross naval game. It's kind of it's a big, complex game, but I think they're going to now break that up into multiple modules, which will be cool. So I saw it got a whole bunch of really good playtesting done at
CSW.
CSW, yeah, in Arizona. Yeah.
And they had it out in Dallas when you were up here.
Yeah. We spent a lot of time together, and I did some follow-up emails from him and with Crans, just on some, because I thought it could be modular.
Yeah, that one should be pretty interesting to see how it all comes together in the end.
Are they doing a Kickstarter on that one?
Yeah, they probably will, but I mean, I think it'll just be a normal pre-order too. It's going to be pretty detailed. There's fuel and air fuel and the detailed attack vectors for the aircraft coming in against the ships and air-to-air dogfights, and I mean, it's the whole shooting match. It's literally like kind of like Pacific War, but in a much smaller area.
Mm-hmm.
And carrier all wrapped into one, I think. Something like that is what I would call it.
Hex-based or area?
Hex.
Okay. Yeah, I prefer Hex. I have to give that one a look. What was it called? Under the Southern Cross?
Under the Southern Cross. I'll listen to it. It's still in development, but he's got some posts about the gameplay. It looks really cool.
I like naval, so I have to give that one a look. But as far as Compass goes, I'm still looking forward to their next to the Tank Ace series, which I think is going to be British Tank Ace.
Yep, that is going to be up on there for sure. And Bob's saying Southern Cross looks good. Such a shortage of great naval games. That's true.
Yeah.
It's not a subject everybody jumps on either. Because even if there's good ones, I don't think they sell that well because, well, no, what it is really, I think a lot of it is due to the fact that naval tactics and naval warfare is its own beast, and people don't,
right.
If they haven't gone out and studied it and understand how, to use your ships correctly and stuff, it's just, hey, let's just run into each other and do like we do with tanks. We'll just run into each other and smash each other, because in a war game, you basically, that's what you're doing in a war game. You're just running counters literally right next to each other,
right?
And then you're rolling it and seeing who wins. Okay, try that in something like MBT, where it's actually a tank tactical game, and you're going to be like, oh well, that you're going to die real quick in armor if you fight that way.
Well,
it's the same thing in naval.
There's some games like that old one by DVG, Nimitz. When you first open it, it looks really good with all the ship counters and all the different plane counters, and you're looking at the map and you're thinking, wow, this is going to be great. But then you start playing the game, and to do it solitaire, they come up with just random movement for the Japanese. And with it being totally random movement, there's no real logic behind any of the choices they make, which I think ruins that game. It would be a good game otherwise if there was more thought behind the AI of it, because otherwise you're just like whack-a-mole. and hoping that your forces aren't wiped out by a blob of the Japanese. So I understand it can be difficult. And then you got the other end of the spectrum with what's it called? The that decision games one, the really, really big one.
Pacific War.
War in the Pacific.
War in the Pacific.
Yeah, War in the Pacific. Something like 10,000 counters in it. Every detail represented. Fuel, have to transport it, all the other crap. Too big to actually play.
Usually the tactic is very straightforward for the Navy. Don't sink. But
send in the Marines and hope for the best.
Send in the Marines too, yeah. Make sure you have the weather gauge and cross the T on the enemy formation. Very true. That's pretty much, I think, the only thing that people understand with naval tactics, because I am not very well versed in naval tactics. It's something I need to learn more of. But also, naval tactics have evolved now because weapons have a much further reach, than they did before. Like in World War II, where they were actually engaging with guns. Now there's missiles over the horizon, aircraft, and things like that.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think navies have the strength now that they used to, because the aircraft carrier, World War II, it was the epitome of power, right, on the seas.
Yeah.
But now we have the ability to launch a missile from the country, if we want to, all the way out and just destroy a ship, right? And this can be a multi-billion-dollar ship, and it's just taken completely out. And that can be done by aircraft. It can be done by missile. It can be done by anything. So when you have a ship that's carrying 5,000, 6,000 sailors and Marines, and it has these multi-million-dollar equipment on it, and it can be taken out by one missile, hits it in the right place, blows a hole, and it sinks. That ship power is just not worth what it used to be.
It's how they're starting to sound like you're all on with the MLR.
Who are you talking to?
You. It sounds like you're all on board now with the MLR concept of just having Marines be rocket chuckers and area denial, denial.
Look at what's happened in Ukraine, right? You had a bigger force with supposedly better equipment, but they were being taken out by Radio Shack drones, right? They were able to fly over top of them and drop a bomb.
But in fairness, they're being taken out by Radio Shack drones and they're also being fed intelligence by the United States military. And things like that. So it's not like Ukraine's doing it all on their own.
What I'm saying, though, is you can have a man-portable rocket that's going to take out this multi-million-dollar tank. So that tank just does not carry the same value. I think we've talked about before, we're at a transitional period in the military. The equipment isn't.
Well, yeah. Equipment's evolving and tactics will evolve. But, the whole thing with that, like we've talked about this before, I know, with that video that you're talking about where the St. Javelin video, basically, where they had the two dudes that were just sitting there and it took out a T-72 and it just went off, just off to the side and it was burning and everything. It's like, well, that's because the Russians were not using proper combined arms. They were just literally rolling down a road. You do that, you're going to get popped. However, the two guys, I think it was two men that were out there for Ukraine, took out that tank. Well, they died because they got hammered by the tanks that turned and fired on them. So it's like one of those things where, okay, it's a good trade-off. I mean, let's be realistic. It's a good trade-off to lose two men versus a vehicle, multi-million-dollar vehicle.
And the men that were in the vehicle.
Yeah, and the men that were in the vehicle. So, I mean, from a cost perspective, if you want to look at the butcher's bill, it's much better for Ukraine in that regard. But still, you don't want to waste life in a combat situation if you can avoid it. So it would have been better for them to, number one, hit from a further distance and from behind cover so they could have beat feet out of there. But that's one of those things. And again, for the Russians, they didn't need to lose that tank if they had just had top cover and they had screening forces out and they had infantry out there as well. It never would have happened. So that's the thing about Ukraine is kind of twisting a lot of people's understanding of combined arms in a really bad way. And tactics, it's just like people were like, the day the tank is over. No, it's not. It's not.
No, I don't think the tank's going to vanish. But what I'm correlating,
things evolve. Yeah,
the sea battles, modern day sea battles, are going to be suffering the same type of effect considering you can have a man portable piece of equipment that could potentially take out a huge ship. If now,
Sure.
yes, it's going to have to hit it in the right place, but hey, if it hits it in the magazine,
But the other
boom.
thing too is that people need to remember, and this is again where it goes back to the MLR, which is I think one of the dumbest things ever to happen. Castrating the Corps for this whole thing, turning the Marine Corps into light infantry instead of a self-contained fighting force that can go anywhere rapidly. Is you have these guys that are supposed to sit on islands and throw missiles at the enemy. The plan, the Chinese Navy when they're out there. Well, guess what? You're going to throw rockets. They're going to throw rockets back, and rockets are going to hit each other. And it's like, who's going to run out of missiles first? Well, the Navy, they'll have multiple vehicles, vessels out there. So they'll be able to absorb a lot more than the ground forces will. And the other thing too is ground forces are not mobile. You're on that island. Well, guess what? We're going to go around this other. Well, then we did area denial. Really, you just made them go a different route. So, and also, if they get into an extended conflict, how are you going to resupply them? Because these missiles are not small and they're not cheap. Right. So,
well, it's just how you translate that into a modern day war game that is using
sure.
naval power. It's hard to actually abstract that into a game because there's so many swing factors now that didn't exist back in the World War II era.
Yep. For sure.
Well, that is a good point too. $100 million missile taken out of $5 million tank is not cost effective. But drones are a great thing, but I think they should be used in a lot more ways than they are now. And I think we will see that. I think especially for one of the greatest uses, I think for drones, non-military, is going to be for search and rescue, because you have people that go up into a mountain or even at sea. You can send out drones. You can send out a fleet of drones that cover more of a space than you have one aircraft or two aircraft.
At a much lower altitude as well.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Think about those guys who fly those racing drones, right? You see them on line. They can fly that thing just beyond your comprehension, just off the little screen they're watching. They're doing flips, going through windows, looping through buildings. I mean, they're acrobatic as hell. You scale that up a little bit, put a gun on it. Those guys are ultimate snipers. They could just zoom in, bam, 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 zoom out. If they take out the drone, no big loss.
But when that becomes a thing, they're going to have things on vehicles that are just going to be like, hit, press the button. Boom, it's going to just put up, RF, what do you call it? Chaff, jammer, basically, and jam it or whatever. So, I mean, for every solution, there's another solution. For every new vehicle or whatever, there's going to be a counter to it always. That's just the evolution of technology.
Yeah, like Fango Wolf jammers.
Yep, signal jammers. That's it. Now we go back to this
one. How can the enemy press a button if you disable his hand? I love that movie.
That is such a great, drone dog fights. Yeah, that's another thing too that can become a thing. DoorDash by drone. Don't laugh because Walmart delivers by drone.
Off the shelf, right? Commercial off the shelf.
Yes. Yeah. And that is pretty cool. Imagine if Nagumo had a fleet of drones carries off Midway. Well, this is true. I'm trying to catch back up on messages. Ukraine is oddly a mix of war, the future World War II or World War I trench war. Very true. And I think a lot of that too is the fact that the way things are going, Russia does not need to go any further, and Ukraine's not really doing the counteroffensive. I mean, that's a whole nother subject in itself, but it's now a meat grinder, which is terrible for the guys that are over there.
Something I heard about that is that one of the theories is that the conflicts we're seeing nowadays, the real conflict is behind food and water and no longer oil, because food and water is going to start becoming scarce. And Ukraine, was producing 20% they said of the grain for Europe. And that's the real reason Russia tried to invade and take them over, which I guess could make sense.
Yeah, but you also have to look at the other fact why there is going to be food shortages too. Look at all the stuff that's been going on, like with the Netherlands, with the farmers and farmers in other countries too, because governments are trying to shut down farmers. They're trying to create food shortages. That's a whole nother subject too. That's not wargaming yet, although it probably will be part of wargaming pretty soon because food, resources like food and water are things that obviously you can't live without, and that's worth fighting over.
Yeah, we're
Even
gonna have
more
real
so
life
as well.
Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Operation Belly Rub.
So,
Get your bow and arrow.
so what
I've
do you
got
got coming up next, Nate?
I have what's it called? Burning Banners on the table. Finally starting to learn that. I still want to learn Iron Armor. I just have to get past that mental barrier. I think if I can get to like page 10 or something, I'll break through. I did want to mention a couple of digital games that I covered here recently. One of them is free. You can go on Steam, download it right now. If you like fantasy style warfare, like the old school, the block formations, shields and swords running into each other. It's called SOVL. Sovel, I guess. It's SOVL Fantasy Warfare. It's on Steam. Download it for free. And there are some expansions that you can get that cost like $5 a piece, but you don't have to get them if you don't want to. You can play the full game completely free. The publisher has it available up there, and it's just some expansions available if you want them. And it's really, really good. I did a video on it. Fun game. And another one coming out from Slithering Games, Broken Arrow. If you like Warno, right? Warno.
Mm-hmm.
Similar to Warno. There's another closed beta coming
It's like
up.
porno, but for war.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I would be filming this closed beta, but there's an NDA I had to sign, so I can't talk about it. But as soon as I can, I will. That one is shaping up to be really, really, really good. So I'm looking forward to that one. And they've got that game if you like World War II fighters and you like the board games, kind of like Blood Red Sky. Check out Scramble Battle of Britain. It's one where you issue orders to your aircraft in like 5-second increments, right? So you'll order a turn for this aircraft, die for this aircraft, whatever, and then press play. Your aircraft will execute their maneuvers while the enemy executes theirs. You're trying to get behind them, get in position, get
What's
your
that
shots
called?
off. It's called Scramble Battle of Britain. So there was an open demo. I think that one's closed. I think they're doing another one soon. So just add it to your wish list. But it's really good. It's fun. I had a blast with that. And
Cool.
I think that's it for what I'm covering.
What do you got, Kev?
Let's see. So I'm playing Arden 44 online, doing a vassal thing on that. We're on turn 4 of that. That's been Classic Bulge Frustration level 11. So it's been cool. I enjoyed that game, but it's very bulgy. I finished up a lock and load tactical Vietnam scenario, finished up Gettysburg Roads to Gettysburg 2 scenario or campaign. I think I posted most of that stuff. And now I'm just playing OCS. It's the only thing on my table right now. I've got back to the North African campaign from May 42 onwards. So it's lots of fun right now. Very interesting. And then next I want to get Keith Tracton's Raiders game on to see how that goes. And I picked up a couple of RPGs. One was a complimentary one. It's called the Everyday Heroes system. I think you guys know it. It's a Dungeons and Dragons 5e compatible, but it's modern. And then they also have these licensing agreements with movies. So they've got The Crow, Escape from New York,
Nice.
Highlander, and one other. What's the Schwarzenegger one with where he goes to Mars on a vacation? What is that?
Total Recall.
Oh, yeah.
Total Recall.
Total Recall.
Total Recall. So so they sent me Total Recall and Highlander.
Nice.
And I got geeked out about the Highlander, so I was like, okay, there can only be one. So I think
I was going to say, are you the only one that's going to be covering that one?
Yeah.
I don't think so. But nevertheless, I'm sort of geeking out on the RPG stuff at the moment.
Nice.
I've been playing some War Stories and Twilight 2000 as well. So we're just solo, just goofing around with the systems. All the new modules coming in.
Did you get your Black Madonna?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it's really cool too.
It is.
Super pumped.
Hostile. Did you get Hostile Waters too?
Yeah, I couldn't help myself.
Yeah, that looks cool. Is it not?
Yeah, super.
The ship counters are freaking fantastic. I think they did a great job. Their component quality is outstanding.
Yeah, great.
Really.
Whole shit.
Yeah. Definitely. The maps really do give you that authentic feel for that time, which I think is really cool.
Yes. Yeah.
They do a great job on that. So yeah, that's interesting. Now, one of the things that we'll be having in an upcoming show, going to work out the logistics on it, is going to be getting at least one, maybe two guys from the Burden of Command team on, because if you guys recall, if you're a longtime viewer of the show, we talked to those guys about 4 years ago.
Yeah, didn't they have a digital game they were doing?
Yeah, and it's coming out.
Yeah, I remember that.
I'm in the closed demo right now, closed beta test, and I cannot share anything because I have NDA, like you were saying with the other stuff.
Don't you hate that?
Yeah, but they are going to allow us to share some things over time. But so I can't go into details on the game other than the fact that it's going to be real interesting, I think, for a lot of people. I think it's going to be a game that you're going to want to check out for sure, because it's kind of neat how they're doing everything. The title is definitely fitting. Burden of Command, because you're making the commands for your troops. It's not like you're just, it's groggy too. You're moving guys around and firing, but you have to think tactically, and you don't want to lose guys. You're going to lose them, but you don't want to lose them. And how you do things matters, because you push your guys. Hell, I don't care that you're tired. We need to get here and accomplish the mission, but they might be tired, which is going to degrade them a little bit. Or do you give them a break, and now they're not as tired, but now you're behind, and that can also have bad repercussions. So it's one of those things where you really have to think, and things you do have effects later on too. So I think that's really cool, and I think they have been very ambitious with what they started out with, and I can see now why it's taken several years to get this going, because it's really neat. I think they have something pretty cool in this game. So as time goes on and we're allowed to talk about it more, and I can show some video and stuff, and I get more time to spend with it, because I have been kind of limited with the video projects we're working on, but we'll be able to share more of that. And I also have a beta key that I got in for Gettysburg from C3I. So that should be interesting to see how that translates to the computer screen compared to the analog game, the board game itself.
They have a release date yet for the Burden of Command?
Yeah, it's going to be either late this year or early next year.
All right.
I believe that's what it is. And there's going to be a demo in the fall is the plan.
Very
so
cool.
not too much longer till people will be able to see it themselves. So they're really they're moving right along with it, and they're pretty organized. I will say that they really have things organized real well. And then, of course, 6 Days in Fallujah, they keep evolving their stuff too. So we got to find some time to go play some of that.
Yeah, we need to get something. We need to get on that.
Yeah, we have.
Hey, actually, speaking of codes, I think I still got an extra key for Warhammer Battle Sector, which is a hex and unit movement type game, tactical game. So if you're into 40K and you don't have the game, send me an email. First one that sends me an email gets a code. Email's in the description of all my videos.
And if you're interested in 40K and you don't want to spend 40K to play it.
Yeah. It's a good
That's
game.
why it's
I
called
like
40K.
it. I've done a review on it. It's really good, fun game. So if you're into 40K, it's definitely one worth checking out. But if you don't have it and want it, first one sends me an email saying they want it, I'll send you a code.
Very cool.
Yeah, brick wall. Of course, he's got the brick wall. It fits his head.
Dink.
Excuse me. But yeah, we're going to be wrapping it up here, guys. Really appreciate you tuning in. And that's why I wanted to do a round table of what everybody's got going. And, maybe this SSVOL game that you were talking about, maybe we'll have to take a look at that. Maybe we'll throw that into our Friday night fights because we haven't done that in a while either. We need to get back to doing some of those.
I would love
get
to
into some brawls on a Friday night with some whiskey and some good chat and hanging out online with a bunch of really awesome folks here that tune in and join our show. So we will catch you guys next month. Appreciate you tuning in tonight and have a great night, everybody. See you next month.